Welcome to today's webinar. This is intro webinar number 3 for SueWrongdoers.com, which will be opening October the 1st. It will be a membership website. Memberships will become available on October the 1st. The final details are being worked out as to the exact membership structure and the cost for being a member. There will be a cost being associated with membership. We'll touch on that a little bit later today, but that hasn't been finalized yet for a number of reasons. But there's a short presentation today, and then I'll be taking questions and offering whatever answers I can. And anybody who is on the call who has received assistance from me with regards to preparing paperwork and documentation in whatever form, I'm going to be inviting you to come on the call later and just provide some feedback on what you received in terms of assistance, the quality of the assistance, your appreciation or lack thereof of it. So if you want to not get worried about that, if you want to come on and say something, that would be great. If you don't want to, that's fine too. But if you're on the call and you want to give some feedback, and this is only for people that have already received assistance with regards to preparing for court or preparing paperwork, I'm going to ask you later on to raise your hand, and that's the little button on your GoToWebinar control panel, and I will unmute your microphone and ask you to give some feedback. If you're interested, able, and willing. You have to have a microphone in order to do that on your computer. Okay. So welcome to today's webinar. It's intro number 3 with regards to Sue Wrongdoers. And the opening date is October the 1st. And again, the principle of Sue Wrongdoers is to empower the individuals, citizens, we'll use that term for now in a neutral sense, in order to discover how we have given our trust to people who take on either official offices or what appear to be official offices, and they not only don't do their job, they actually harm people in the process of failing to do their job. So ultimately it is we did trust them to do something. They've effectively lied to us. We know this. It's well acknowledged. Politicians call each other liars on a regular basis. They appear to definitely have stolen money and property and rights and everything else. So it's a matter of learning how to hold them to account. And this has been one of the big issues with regards to anything, is how to hold these people accountable. And this is what Sue Wrongdoers is about. They will pay for the wrongs in a lawful manner, peaceful, lawful manner, where they will be exposed for their wrongdoings, and they will be prosecuted under potentially criminal code violations. If there's enough evidence of that, that will be handed off to the people who do that sort of thing. But we're focused on the civil side, not the Roman civil side, but the civil law side, which is man-to-man compensation for harm under common law. Common law does have a civil side when it is with regards to money and compensation for wrongs. Now, you as an informed citizen do have a responsibility to keep the government in check and corporate officers in check. We've been failing to do that. We've been complaining about it, but nobody's really understood how to go through the process of doing that. And so we're regaining the ideas and belief that we can and we should exercise this responsibility. And again, it's my foundational belief that the law court systems are basically sound. They do have a functional aspect to them. They do work at the common law level when they were forced to, and they are actively avoiding it at this time as we speak. They effectively, in my understanding, have been hijacked. Some people call them pirates, where they're actually taking you out of a lawful court into some sort of private jurisdiction and persecuting and prosecuting and stealing property there. So this is an opportunity to change all that. So the system of the law is supposed to be a guardian of truth, honor, and justice to facilitate a peaceful, prosperous society. That's the sales pitch. But it is also reality. It does work this way when required to do so. It really ultimately is that you must do your duty to reclaim the system of law from the hijackers. It's not get the government to do it because they're in on it. It's not get somebody else to do it because ultimately it's up to you as an individual to claim your rights, defend your rights, and act in the manner that is going to ensure that they are enforced. Ultimately, it's a return to the rule of law. Now, the rule of law is a concept. You can look it up, you can study it, you can see what it is. But the beginning of rule of law is that you, as an individual, must understand your power within the society that you live. In this particular case, in Canada, it's a common law jurisdiction in all of the provinces except for Quebec. In the United States, it's a common law jurisdiction in all of the states except for Louisiana. And in the UK, it's England is a common law, and actually Scotland has a history of Roman civil law structure. So, and Australia is common law, New Zealand is common law, and Namibia is also common law, relatively new, in the 90s, established as a common law jurisdiction. So ultimately, whatever system you're in, whether it's common law or a civil law type of system, France, Quebec, you know, many countries, you need to understand your power as an individual within that system. What legal power do you have? What lawful power do you have? And what are the resources available to exercise a defense of your rights and a claim of your rights? And then ultimately it is up to you to use it. That old saw phrase, you know, use it or lose it, ultimately is 100% in effect with regards to your rights. And you must use it strategically and properly, your power. Many people are trying to reclaim their power through the Freeman movement and sovereignty movements and various other types of movements, coming at it in a very unstrategic manner and not being done in a proper manner. And these groups have been labeled potential violent and potential risk and all sorts of things, which undermines everybody's search for it, because people are not coming at it from a perspective of a rule of law or a responsible type of action. Now, not everybody, but you only need one for the system to grab onto it and say, see, they're all like this. And obviously it's not true, but that's what the system does, and that's what the media does. And so it's don't give them any excuse to label us in such a way that gives them the higher moral ground, which really they have no right to whatsoever. And it's no different than, you know, the protesters many years ago who decided that peaceful protesting was the way to go, and they would, you know, train everybody not to do anything violent. And then, you know, somebody would start something by throwing a rock at the police or whatever, and then, you know, all hell breaks loose and all that sort of stuff. And you only need one instigator. And it's turned out that some of those instigators in protests have been police and other people dressed as protesters. So they're looking for an excuse, and if they can't find one, they'll manufacture one. So we have to act at a higher level and not allow them to have any opportunity to do so. Now, the return to rule of law definitely requires you to demonstrate full knowledge. And what is it full knowledge of? It's full knowledge of your rights, of your position in society with regards to that, and the fact that you are responsible, and that freedom comes with responsibility and duties attached to it. You can't just claim your freedom to do anything, because now you're being irresponsible in the demonstration of your actions against other people. So full knowledge includes full responsibility and full liability. And this is, for me, the ultimate definition of a private person of full capacity. And a private person of full capacity is a man or a woman who demonstrates they have full knowledge, full responsibility, and full liability with regards to their actions, and will be accountable for it, and are willing to answer to any claims, any lawful, legitimate, verified claims that they failed in their knowledge, responsibility, and liability to act appropriately according to rule of law. And when we act in a way that demonstrates to those who are watching or who are reading our paperwork that we are a risk to the rule of law by our violent, abusive words and our violent and abusive actions, we give them permission to act against us, to put us down. And we give them, in a court situation, parens patriae, because we're obviously incompetent. We don't qualify for adult standing, mature standing, full responsibility standing, etc. However you want to phrase it. And we don't want to give them that opportunity. So ultimately, this is unfortunately a growing up and learning about responsibility and acting in that manner. And these are the people who are leaders in society. These are the people who are supposed to be the leaders in society, the ones who act in this manner, who are not interested in being corrupt, who when approached with an opportunity to do something wrong will turn it down because they know it's not the right thing to do. They will choose the right path when given a choice. And the system historically has corrupted good people in various ways, and once they're going down that path, they have a difficulty turning around. So it is resisting the evil that is presented to you in whatever form in order to maintain your status of a private person of full capacity, honoring the rule of law in everything that you do. It's not that high a standard, but relative to what the world does, it is a very high standard. So we have to look at what this all means. Now, return to the rule of law. I just came across this website a short time ago, as in yesterday. It's the Law Foundation of BC and British Columbia, and I found their legislative mandate, mission statement, and vision very, very interesting. Our legislative mandate is to fund legal education, legal research, legal aid, legal reform, and law libraries for the benefit of British Columbians. Mission statement: to advance and promote a just society governed by the rule of law through leadership, innovation, and collaboration. Vision: a society where access to justice is protected and advanced. Values: integrity, respect, diversity, sustainability, and it goes on from there. So you can go check this out. And guess what? You have organizations like this in your own jurisdiction. This is a provincial organization in British Columbia, nonprofit. There are many others within British Columbia that have similar types of mandates. And this is one of the things that I hope to achieve with SueWrongdoers, is basically by getting people to work appropriately with the structure of society as it exists as a law and bring it back to what its original design is. We can interface with organizations like this, not only utilize their resources, but if they're going to actually perform on their mission statement and their vision and perform to the values that they state, they can do nothing but support us. They can do nothing but back us. And we are no longer the outsiders banging at the door crying for justice, but we're working with insiders, quote unquote, who have a similar mandate, and we encourage, enforce, and provide them with evidence of all the wrongdoing that's been going on to the individuals who effectively have been on the outside looking in, and say, look what's happening to people. Look what's happening on a regular basis in our courts. Here's all the evidence, and your mandate as an organization is to not allow this to happen. We want your support. We want your resources in order to deal with this effectively. Imagine if every province and every state who have organizations like this got handed a big whack of evidence of all the things that are going on, violations of rule of law by judges and lawyers, court registries, who are actively preventing access to common law courts and mistreating people in trial or in courts by abusing them, threatening them, yelling at them, intimidating them, arresting them in the court for failing to appear, quote unquote, for the false name on the paper that they're bringing to the court. Total complete fraud, total abuse of rule of law, etc., etc. We're at the point of really exposing all of this stuff, but it needs to be done in an appropriate fashion in order to get the people on the inside and to bring people in the mainstream into their awareness of the legitimacy of the complaints. And this is one potential connection. There's many others that are national or local that we all can look for within our own jurisdictions and approach them with information that we have in order to trigger their mandate in order to assist us. This ultimately has become a return to a rule of law type of process. The whole idea is to identify those breaking the rule of law, go through the proper complaint and claim process, hold them to account, and guess what? Things might actually clean up. End of corruption. Hallelujah. Yes, I know. It's a pipe dream for sure, but it's got to start somewhere, and all things come to an end. And right now I've been noticing in the news that China, Communist China, is having a major crackdown on corruption within their governmental organization and within their military, etc. They're having a purge because even in a communist system, corruption undermines it. And you know, we hate to admit it, but corruption exists in many, many places, if not almost everywhere to some degree. And it's a matter of people having enough of it, and that's what's happened. I mean, the attitudes of people that I've talked to who are native Chinese people who now live in Canada with regards to why they came to Canada and some of the things about China, and they go, absolutely, it is fundamentally at the base understanding of every citizen in China that they live in a totally corrupt system, and they're all sick of it. Well, you know, we've got a couple billion people who get sick of it, and you know, maybe one day we'll have you know, some serious change there. And that's why even the communist government is having to crack down on it, because they recognize that it is such a public awareness experience for everybody right now that they will lose their credibility and their right to rule if they don't start cleaning it up. And that's only because of the massive exposure, the massive awareness, and the massive general acceptance of the level of corruption that exists. So in a common law country or jurisdiction, you have a duty to keep the peace, not to cause harm or threat of harm to another person or property, but that also includes the balance, which is to report the wrongs and acting of the wrongs against, acting as a witness against wrongdoers. We've been failing to do that. This is one of the processes to end corruption. And a wrongdoer is anyone of any status, any office. It doesn't matter who they are. The rule of law is all about the rule of law applying to absolutely every single person equally who causes harm or threat of harm to any person or property. We have serious cases that are pending that are going to be the final steps put together in order to be presented with regards to high levels of corruption at court level, at political level, and beyond. So again, gathering evidence and making it public through the complaint process and through the claim process is really the only step we have. It's the only leverage we have. Wrongdoers, any officer who breaks their own rules, oaths, acts, regulations, ethics of their office, they have acted outside their office, therefore privately. And again, exposure and process is what's going to cause anything to change with any hope of ending corruption. And many people go, oh, it's just too corrupt, it'll never change, it's impossible. Yeah, maybe, but guess what? Sitting back and doing nothing just means it's going to get worse, and things are going to get worse, and we can limit it to some degree, and who knows how far. And if we don't give it a try, we don't act, you know, what the heck are we doing? My goodness. So learn you can and learn how. This is really what the process of Sue Wrongdoers is about, is learn how you can effectively object in the moment when something has happened. Make a record of it in the moment. How you can effectively administratively complain. There is a specific administrative process in every organization to utilize, and how you can effectively make lawful claims so you get the personal compensation you required or should be required to receive for the damage and harm that you have received. So ultimately, it does come down to a low-level, basic belief structure. You need to believe you can actually complain. You need to believe it will actually make a difference. And you have to believe you have a high chance of success. And so a part of the Sue Wrongdoers process is developing that belief. And the more we see it in the news, that these things actually already are happening. The system is starting to pick out its own people that are corrupt. And it may only be a public relations campaign, but we can piggyback on that, use the momentum that is generated by that, and move it forward. Because if they're doing it here and they're doing it here, and you provide them evidence it's also happening there, guess what? One more for the batch. So we really have to hold everybody to account through the three-step process described in Webinar 1. It is not something that I have created. It is what is outlined in the law for us to use. We just haven't known about it, or haven't used it, or haven't been willing to use it. So learning the principles of using the legal system for your protection and the benefit of others. We've been taught to avoid the courts, avoid lawyers, and generally speaking, that's good advice with regards to the way things work now. But we need to learn how to use the courts as they were properly created and still can work as, and the same thing with lawyers. They do have a use. They do have to be watched, and you have to understand who you're dealing with in order to have them actually be effective for you. But they are to be used with caution in many cases. Take action with private claims, complaints, and private notices, complaints, and claims, and always, always, always follow through. they rely on us not following through. So just as a quick reminder, the easy 1, 2, 3 process, it is this simple. Yes, it is. Private letter to the wrongdoer, which is a notice to cease and desist and provide remedy. Depending on your circumstance, it might just be a cease and desist, it might just be a remedy, but you can do all three of those things at one time in one private letter to them. Their failure to respond, administrative complaint to the superiors, and licensing oversight organizations. If there is no record of complaints against a lawyer for his wrongdoing, and somebody inquires, is this guy a good lawyer? Oh, there's no complaints about him, so I guess so. Well, yeah, and how many people has he harmed that never complained about it? So we need to make these official record complaints and make the licensing organizations liable for not enforcing their licensing opportunity to punish a wrongdoer within the organization. And then finally, common law claim, civil claim, which is a civil claim remedy for damages and harm, and in distinction to criminal claim or criminal charge, the common law civil claim is about getting remedy with regards to compensation. Now those are three steps. They're outlined within the law. They're outlined within the basic concept of a rule of law. It has been for hundreds of years this way. It is not new. It's just a matter of identifying it, walking through the steps, doing the hard work of telling your story on paper, which is where some of the coaching comes in with Sue Wrongdoers, is how to actually tell your story properly and how to evidence it properly, how to structure it properly so that it makes sense to a third-party judge or the party that you're going to be making the claim against, so they can understand the claim against them and decide whether they really want to fight you on it. So it's not a difficult process in its outline, but it does take work to go through the steps of it. So why do this at all together? Because your failure to complain is deemed consent. Your failure to claim means they face no risk loss when they continue to abuse you, because they will if you don't say no once. They will continue to abuse you. Your failure to complain claim makes you complicit to their wrongdoing. You're actually an accomplice now because you failed in your duty at the front end, which we talked about at the beginning, to actually hold these people to the rule of law. You witness somebody stealing something, you don't say something, you're a witness, you're an accomplice to that particular theft. So your failure to complain and persist is what they count on 98% of the time, because most people will just not say anything and they won't follow through with what they say if they do complain. And then your failure to understand basic court process, if you do take it to court, is what they count on all the time, because most people lose just because they don't know the basics of court. What if you do not do it? What happens if we don't stand up and start complaining and claiming more frequently? Well, ultimately, you as an individual will consent to be taxed to death. Because if you haven't noticed, taxes are going up. User fees are going up. Everything is double billing, triple billing these days. Every time they add a new tax, it's just another way to find out whether people are going to stand up and complain. Oh, they don't complain about this tax? Well, I guess we can put on another one. Oh, they didn't complain about that tax either, so I guess we can put on another one. And you will end up being literally taxed to death. And in many jurisdictions, when you die, the state takes half of your belongings. You know, it's total abuse with regards to that. You consent to the abuse of your family, your present family and your future family. You are actually participating in the permission for the ongoing abuse for generations into the future when you don't act. You might carry the shame and guilt of facilitating their wrongdoing, because now that you know this, now that you know you have a duty in order to assist in the process of keeping the peace and the rule of law, your failure to do so is going to potentially nag at you. Some people, you know, really are affected by this, and this is part of the problem. You know, ignorance is bliss, and once you wake up and find out what the truth is, you have an obligation and a duty to do something about that truth. Otherwise, you may carry that guilt along with the fact of not doing anything. When your grandchild says to you, when you know, everything is taxed to death, nobody has freedom, everything is under control, they're going to say to you, what did you do in the 2000s, when, you know, in the year 2014, when you had a chance to stop this? That is an ultimate reality, and people have asked that question about things in the past. This is really could be where it's going. You will live in fear. You will continue to live in fear because you know what they can do, you know what they will do, and that's ultimately what's going to happen. You know, you're going to try and do things, but not from a comfortable place of being. You will effectively be a slave. Ultimately, it is an economic form of slavery. It's usually not the physical slavery that occurred in the past, but it is economic slavery with all of the stresses and strains on family life and everything else that goes along with it. This is the reality. If enough people don't stand up and say no through proper processes, then things are just going to continue going downhill. We do have a chance. So what else are you doing that is really more important than this? This ultimately is where society can go one way or the other if enough people stand up and say no, or enough people continue, to not do it. And to continue kicking and screaming and yelling and throwing rocks, carrying signs down the street, that has a minor effect. But to continue not to do it strategically through effective processes, you're just not going to get what you want because you're using the wrong strategies. So why does this whole thing work? Because every officer is bound by codes, acts, rules, regulations, policies, oaths. They have to be bonded, etc. And they violate all of them. So that's why it works. It doesn't matter what system, especially in a system that is Roman civil law based. It's all about rules. You can only do what's written down. These people are run by rules, which means not only do they expect you to follow them, they have to follow them when they are called on it. But they've never been called on it, so they have no rules. So end your fear. Many people have heard the concept of fear being false evidence appearing real. Well, we have a lot of false evidence these days. And by the way, if you look at that word there, is that a word? Or is it just a collection of letters that appears to be the word fear? This is actually one of the paperwork tricks that they use in their documentation. They will actually put spaces between letters to avoid making a real word so they cannot be held liable for fraud on their paperwork. If you see a word that has spaces between the letters, you're watching fraud on the paperwork in front of you. So end your fear of politics, religion, courts, legal systems, and police. They really are all just men and women doing a job with lots of rules, limitations, and liability on how they must do their job, and they're not doing them by those rules and regulations. Their liability for doing it wrong only begins when you report, claim, and complain that their actions broke their rules or the law. Again, they're their rules, and we can point them to it. So how can Sue Wrongdoers help you? Help understand the big picture, help you learn the strategies of success, because what's happened, as I've already mentioned, most people are not doing it strategically. They don't understand how the system works. They don't understand what the system needs in order to effectively process our complaints. And so by using the correct strategies and knowing what your next steps are, instead of just throwing something at the wall, hope it works, and you don't know what to do next if it doesn't, again, undermines all the work you've done, because you're not going to be successful with poor strategies. Help you learn the rules of winning, because there are rules, processes in any game to figure out how to win. And by learning the rules of how to win, you're going to have a much better chance of it, obviously. Experienced lay litigants, myself and a number of people have been to court numerous times, can help other people prepare for court, understand the process. Ultimately, the goal is not to end up in court, but at the moment, that's where we're still dealing with at some level with some instances. So you also need to be prepared to go there just in case they push it that far, because ultimately they're not going to give it up until the last possible moment. Usually tested and applied court processes. My goal is to have nothing that hasn't been tested or proven being taught, but ultimately some things have to be theoretical to some degree, but it's theory based on proven principles, processes that we can identify. It's an existing process that nobody that we know has used yet, so it's not been tested, but it is what is available to you. So again, the best evidence of what works is the goal here, and a resource of others' efforts and results, because everybody who participates in this is going to create results. They're going to either test and apply, or adopt a situation, create a result, and then that information is going to be available to us. They're also going to be using or researching within their own jurisdiction as to who to complain to, and what processes for that particular system, and what organizations in that jurisdiction we can work with, etc. So you're going to become a partner researcher in your jurisdiction to help build up the information database and the experience database for others to benefit from, and go out and make their own complaints and claims with hopefully greater efficiency. And the more of us that come to the table, the more efficient and effective it will become, and the larger the numbers will cause the system to change back to what it's supposed to be instead of the corrupt process it is right now, because enough people have stood up and taken them to task and actually been successful at it. And the last one here that I missed was maybe even empower insiders to help. There are good people within the system that don't like what's going on. They don't know what to do about it. They're afraid of their jobs. They're afraid of whatever. And when they see more people on the outside coming in and exposing the game, they can participate in helping with regards to further exposure. And we can also subpoena these insiders in order to testify. Because of the evidence we bring to the table, we have people that we identify have information. We can subpoena them into court processes and basically force them to tell the truth. And ultimately, what can they do? They're then absolved of the liability from inside the system for speaking out, because they're being forced to by subpoena process. So this is a big part of it. This is a big part of the process for enough of us to do the process to empower the insiders who are on the inside and willing to do the right thing to actually do the right thing. There's a case of an old story from a environmental organization that was taking to task a big corporation. And the environmentalists and the CEO end up meeting, and this third party who's reporting the meeting said he was shocked at what the CEO did, because the CEO said to the environmentalist, thank you for doing what you did, for pushing us and exposing this to the degree. It was embarrassing for me, it was embarrassing for the company, but because you raised such a public face on this matter, I could actually go to the board. I was empowered to go to the board and say, we need to do the right thing here, because we're getting killed in the press. We're getting killed in our public relations. It's affecting our sales, and it's hurting the company. And if you didn't go to the point of making it so big, I couldn't do what I know needed to be done, because I would never get the board support behind it. So you're getting the public behind it gave me the power to go to the board and say, we need to do the right thing and fix this. And that's, I think, a big part of the dynamic that is involved in creating change, is getting the public behind it and getting organizations behind it in order to force all of this change. And we've seen that type of thing happen over and over. It's, it's not hard to understand. So what will Sue Wrongdoers offer? It's going to offer study members level. There's going to be 3 levels at the moment. That's the structure, 3 levels. The first one is the study members, access to step-by-step training, laying out in as simple terms as possible what you can do if you're just wanted to get an overview of the process, you just want to study about it, or you're a total do-it-yourselfer, you just want to find the basic stuff and go and do it yourself. There's going to be enough there for you to do that. Then serious members, who will be able to access recorded coaching calls, and they'll get some email support on their questions and so on. So the first level is just the basic information disclosed to you, so you know where to go and how to do it if you're going to do it all on your own. Which again, I don't 100% recommend, because many people who think they know what they're doing because they've seen a basic process laid out, and I've seen this over the years, go and do it half right and then wonder why it didn't work. Or do it half right and get into trouble because they did not know how to back it up, or did it half right and the other stuff was wrong, and so on. So the idea here is try and go for quality and build on the quantity of people doing quality. So the do-it-yourselfers, unfortunately, many times are the ones who get the case law decisions that are detrimental to everybody else, because they didn't properly present their case. And now there's a bad decision because the judge only decides what was put before them. You don't put the right stuff before them, then you get bad case law. And there's tons of that out there with regards to taxation and property and tax protesters, natural person, the whole thing. None of those issues have been properly presented in a court to be properly decided. It's all bad law that needs to be overturned. So the serious members receiving coaching calls, this is going to be people with live coaching processes and email support, so you get your questions answered. And then full capacity members, and this is ultimately the goal, is people who are really serious about learning the right way, doing the right thing, stepping back so that before you act, you're doing it with as full a knowledge as possible, you're doing it strategically, and you have your greatest chance of success. And these are going to be the action takers up front who are already probably taking action and want to be more effective with their action. They're going to be able to access live group coaching calls available for one-on-one coaching for their particular processes, so that we can be as certain as possible that they're doing things as right as possible. And it's not about perfection; it's about doing it as good as possible as we know how to do it in the moment. And very often it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be the right basics laid out in the right basic way to lead to success. Now again, the system is going to put up resistance to this, which they have already been doing, and it's a matter of they look at what we're doing and they become strategic about how to try and shut us down, which means we have to understand what they're going to do, expect it, plan for it, prepare for it, and also be able to react to what they do. They have limited options. We have unlimited options. Ultimately, it's not a fair fight. We have the power. We have the control. We have the rules on our side. We just haven't been using it. So, it's time to take that back. All three levels are going to be designed for easy access, simplified teaching processes, action orientation, and it's affordable for all. The object here is not to make money. The object here is to try and fund the process of doing this, because it's literally impossible to do this kind of work with no money. And so if you're serious about supporting this type of education and participating in this type of process, you need to come to the table with some financial support. It will be very affordable. It will surprise you when it is released on the 1st. Again, the numbers aren't exactly finalized. That's why I'm not announcing them. But it will be very affordable for anybody at any level. And what will you do? The question really is, what will you do when from this point forward? You have enough information to go do your own research. You don't have to pay anybody anything. Go ahead and do it. The SueWrongdoers, what's on private person, there's lots of information there. Go do your own research. Spend the months and years in the testing and trial, and you can go do that. Or you can do nothing because it's too much work, it's too much effort, sounds too difficult, never happened, and all that other good stuff. Or you can whine about it. Too much work. You're charging money for it. Whatever. Go to town. And this is another reason for actually charging a little bit of money. It gets rid of these people. I'm not interested in talking to, emailing with, or supporting these people at any point in this stage of their life. Once they move past this, fine. But as far as I'm concerned, you're not even attempting to be a private person of full capacity, or a real man or a real woman, if you're going to do nothing and you're going to whine. This really is about standing up and doing the right thing and acting that way. And you could study. Many people have been studying for a long time, myself included. Ultimately, that study has to lead to action. Otherwise, it's pretty useless. So are you going to stay in the study mode, or are you going to actually move to action and figure out, that when you actually go and apply it, it's a lot different than what you studied. And you'll learn so much more. You'll understand so much more when you actually go and apply anything. It doesn't matter what it is. Just go into your bank account. Ask the bank teller to take your social insurance number or social security number off. You will learn so much, if you haven't done that yet, about yourself and about the process. And they absolutely should come off. There's no reason for them to be there. And if you received any resistance and you give up, well, you learned. And if you receive no resistance and they take it off, well, you'll be pleasantly surprised. Because it can happen either way. And I don't know what's going to happen in your particular situation, but until you actually go and try it, you'll never know. And you'll remain in the study mode forever. So maybe act haphazardly. So just go out and try something. Try anything. Take one piece and not know what the second piece or the proper way to do even the first piece. And then bitch, moan, and complain that it didn't work. And you know, what I told you didn't work. Well, guess what? 90% of the time it didn't work because you didn't apply it properly. You didn't understand what you're doing. You didn't follow through. That really is, unfortunately, the reality of it. And you can join Sue Wrongdoers and try and learn the right way to do it. Is it the only way? Heck no. But in terms of, you know, like I said, I'm not supporting or teaching you something new. I'm teaching you exactly what the system is set up, that is available to you to use, that is what they say is the right way to hold them accountable. And you can come and learn it from Sue Wrongdoers, or you can go do it on your own. Hey, it's entirely up to you. And ultimately, after you join Sue Wrongdoers, again, the goal is to act strategically and intelligently so that you have the best chance of success and you become a success story with regards to it. And follow through and win. You can't follow through. Even if you do it correct at step 1, 2, and you don't do step 3, you're not following through and you have no chance. Again, it shouldn't be this way. It shouldn't be this hard, but it is. That's the reality of the world we live in right now, and it's going to take stepping up and doing the work, applying the studies, and following through with it in order to give yourself a chance to win. And of course, share your results to help others. My first goal when I started talking to people way back in 1999 was I was in court, and I shared my results and experiences with people because I sat in courtrooms over and over and over again watching people getting prosecuted and convicted in 45 minutes, and that wasn't going to be me. And so I learned about court process way back then in order to not be one of those 45-minute convictions. And so I started sharing what I was learning and what I was doing in my court process because I wanted to save people the shame, embarrassment, cost, hassle of a 45-minute trial. And if you've gotten yourself into a situation where you're being charged with something, you have a lot of resources and a lot of possibilities. And hearing other people's stories, sitting in court and watching it unfold, you can't beat that for education. So if you haven't been to court to watch some of the stuff that's going on, then again, you're not serious. You're not a serious student if you haven't been to court to watch. And if you are nothing but a study person, that's fine. Again, when you become serious, you need to go to court and watch stuff unfold. And when you have experiences with paperwork or processes or court, share it with other people so they can learn from it. And that's the other thing. There's so many bits of information that I have received because I'm out there talking to people. Some of those people come and talk to me, and they tell me what happened in their situation, and they give me a piece of the puzzle. And if I'm not out there talking to people and somebody hears about my stuff or my course or whatever, they're not going to come and find me to then tell me what happened to them, and I'm not going to get that piece of the puzzle. There's so many pieces of the puzzle that I've received from people and their own experiences because they've heard something that that I've covered, and then they come and share it with me. And something very recently, which is, I think, explosive, I'm just receiving the information on that, and once I have that, that will be released. And again, I don't hold anything back. Everything I have, I may hold it back temporarily to make sure it's properly evidenced and properly understood, and so I'm teaching the full thing, not just a piece of an understanding or a piece of evidence that I'm not sure where it fits. I'm trying to do things in as complete a manner as possible so that you have the full story, and that is what the Hope for Justice Do Common Law Courts Exist course. It's the whole story. That would be an urban legend, and nobody would think anything really happened there if that whole story wasn't told of a common law court actually taking place, a common law trial actually taking place. And if you haven't watched that course at least twice, you don't get it. So I encourage you to make sure you go through that. Oh, and gee whiz, where do you get that course? You get that course on Private Person. It's free membership on privateperson.com, and the first course is free access, and there's requested donations for courses number 2 and 3. And there's lots of training under the webinars tab. So if you haven't done any research there, this is the first time you're hearing about this, a lot of the foundational material that's going to be in Sue Wrongdoers, there's going to be a direct relationship to material that's on Private Person. So it's an excellent resource for you there. And we're focused on principles, well understand circumstances, good strategic actions, and proper implementation. That's how you're going to win. And guess what? That all happens inside the box. The box is there for us to use if we learn how to use it properly. So who can I sue? Gosh darn, you can sue everybody. Do you want to sue everybody? No, but you have the opportunity to. And should we go to court? No. Do we want to go to court? No. But guess what? That's the avenue for stopping these people from being wrongdoers. And when a couple of CR agents go to trial and get convicted or end up paying out lawsuits, do you think their bosses are going to get a little bit more careful about, enforcing the proper way to do things? Do you think a few police officers, after getting suits against them, are going to start going, well, maybe I shouldn't do that thing? And judges and accountants, etc. You stand in court, you get yelled at a judge, you properly object in court in that moment when you're yelled at, that judge will change his behavior in the instant that you do that. All right? It is the only way that these people will change their behavior. And it's been proven over and over, and we're going to hopefully prove it over and over again. So Sue Wrongdoers really is to teach and facilitate the awareness of your power. This is about you. It's not about me. I don't care about me. It's about the fact that this is information that's available to you that you need to have if you want to create change. And you're the one who has to implement it. Okay? Your power of complaints and claims to hold government and corporate officers accountable. People bitch, moan, and whine about corporations having the same powers of people, and that's just not true. That's a lie. That's a twisting of the truth, and it's time to put these corporations on notice as well. And CEOs and accountants in corporations who make the decisions, not being accountable for those decisions, that's got to stop. Otherwise, it will never stop. So all of these people have to be held liable for it. And I was just reading an act with regards to corporations, and once again, in all these acts, you will see it over and over, that the bottom line is, in every act, it's about when acting in good faith, they're protected from liability. When acting according to law, they have no liability. These people are not acting in good faith when they have evidence that what they're doing is wrong, and therefore they are personally liable for the damages they create. And it's not about the corporation, it's about the individuals, the minds, the hearts, the souls of the people who are making these decisions. They need to be prosecuted. There need to be civil claims against them in their private capacity because they have zero protection at law in the legal system under any act, zero protection if it can be proven that they have acted in bad faith or not according to the law. They have no justification to make profits at the expense of lawful activities. So we can take them all to task. So step-by-step simplified process and using the lawful process, what to do and how to do it. If you understand your power, your rights, and the correct process, you can get justice. It's there waiting for each and every one of us, as far as I'm concerned, and I've seen multiple times. They do fear this. They absolutely fear this. They fear an informed, intelligent person coming to them with a properly evidenced, properly drafted process that they're going to try and deny initially, but eventually they cannot not deny it. And you've seen this happen and play out in Canada multiple times over the past few years with the Indian residential school things. It's now happening with regards to the native land claims. That is becoming huge in terms of the acknowledgement that the land claims are not only valid, there's a serious legal issue because of it, and that serious legal issue is going to cause a lot of problems. Properly taken to task, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. So minimal to none legal theories, using proven principles of law, proven principles of court process, written and spoken in a respectful manner and honorable manner. This is a part of what has not been happening effectively. And by moving to this level, we bring it to a level that they have to match us with. And it's time for accountability of these people. It's also time for you to get accountable with you. It's time for you to get accountable with your family. And it's time to you to get accountable with your society if you're going to be a part of it. Before this webinar started, I had an image up on the screen which said, "It's your world, change it." And it's something that caught my eye, and I've used it a couple of times, and it's something that I've been dealing with because I've kind of seen myself as on the sidelines, as a tourist in this society, as a tourist in this world, You know, things are here, you take advantage of them, you live your life, and you don't really participate in the world. Well, this is ultimately, I think, a big part of what's gone on is that not enough active participation. And this is where activists come in, because they actually get active in saying, no, this is my world, and I'm going to do something about it to make it a better place. So this is, I think, the highest level of activism, because it's safe, it's nonviolent, it's totally within the law. There's nothing they can accuse you of that is unlawful or threatening in any way, other than the fact they don't like you actually using the law against them, because that's been their tool against you forever. So your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to get ready to know the law and get set to know how to complain. And these are not really that difficult. Again, that's part of the idea, to try and simplify it as much as possible, not spend forever learning it. And once you've learned it, you should just understand it. You already understand this at a gut level. And it's a matter of being able to put it into words. And there is this idea of, well, I'm studying forever, and I've been studying for so many years, and so on and so forth. I don't want to do that. Well, I don't want to do that anymore either. So it's a matter of getting the process down. So whenever I'm in a situation, I go step 1, step 2, step 3, and I know how to I know how to express myself on paper for step 1 and step 2 and step 3, and it's done. It's over. That's the idea here, is not to stay in a constant state of studying, trying to figure things out, but find the foundational pieces that always work. Not work sometimes, but always work if you use them correctly. So once you've done that, it's go, how to make your claim. But until you know the law and you get set on how to complain, it's hard to make the claim properly. And again, it's about efficiency, it's about effectiveness, and it's about personal accountability to taking care of your own situation, as well as accountability to those around us. Okay? Now, with regards to what to do next, really, it's invite all your friends. There is unlimited opportunity to make complaints against that whole long list of people in your own city, municipality, county, province, state, country, whatever the heck you call it. And there's probably no shortage in your own life, because you're on this kind of call. And you can help other people get out of the complaining mode where they do nothing, and say, you want to learn how to do it simply, what the real process is, send people to Sue Wrongdoers. And like I said, there's going to be information there to be of assistance to anybody and everybody, and some people will take it to the membership level. And again, the details on the membership itself will be fully disclosed on the 1st, and we'll look forward to as many people becoming members and moving this forward as quickly as possible, because again, it's about making it as quick and simple and effective as possible. That ultimately is the goal.